Good day and welcome to the first debate presented by OpticsPlanet. As a leading retailer of rifle scopes, holsters, and accessories for firearms, we interact with many gun owners and enthusiasts, and today we decided to sit down and discuss the ongoing debate of Glock versus Springfield XD. For this debate, we recruited two of our resident product experts. On my right, making the argument for Springfield XD is Trevor, and making the argument in favor of Glock is Mark. Both of these gentlemen have owned both of these firearms and are very familiar with the ins and outs of each. We're going to break down this debate into a few categories. We'll start with general features. Next, we'll move to ergonomics, safety features, maintenance, response to customer feedback, and we'll just let you decide who is the winner. Let's go ahead and get started with the basic features and history of each gun. Mark, tell us more about Glock.
As Yelena mentioned, both Trevor and I own both platforms, both the Springfield XD and Glocks. I tend to shoot a little bit better with the Glock, probably because I've had more experience with the Glock. I've owned one for close to 20 years. I started with the Glock 19. This is a Glock 36. It's my favorite. It's a single stack 45. I suffer from no acidness, so when I'm concealed carrying this pistol, this is nice for me because it's nice and thin. The Glocks began in the United States after 1982. An engineer named Gaston Glock became aware of the military trials in Austria, and with a clean sheet of paper and no preconceived notions about what a firearm should be, designed the Glock 17 for the military trials. He made a very simple handgun. It has something like 1/3 fewer operating parts than competing designs. It wasn't the first polymer-framed handgun. That goes to the H&K VP07?
70.
VP70. So this was not groundbreaking, but it was the first gun to get acceptance of that type of manufacture.
Okay. And Trevor, can you talk about Springfield XD?
Something pretty cool about the XD is that it's relatively newer on the playing field. It's only been around right about 20 years, plus or minus a little bit. Cool thing about the XD is it actually comes from Croatia. It was originally a Croatian-made pistol, and I like to say it was born in blood, meaning that the Croatian War was going on, the Croatian War of Independence, and the first pistol that came out of Croatia was the predecessor to this pistol right here. Few refinements went into the mix, and then came the HS-2000, which was then adopted by Springfield Armory. Now, the Reese family bought the Springfield Armory name in 1974, so they're taking on that time-honored tradition of quality firearms from Springfield Armory. They're still making quality firearms. They recognized the ability of the Springfield XD and the HS-2000 platform to be a popular pistol, a workhorse, and a well-functioning, well-made pistol. So they brought it over, licensed it, and now we have the Springfield XD, and we've seen quite a few refinements in the last 11 years, and hopefully looking forward to a lot more refinements. The Springfield XD is an excellent platform.
All right. Thank you for that information. Now that we know the basics of each firearm, let's talk about how well it stands up when using it. How are the ergonomics of your gun? Trevor, you start this one.
Absolutely. The Springfield XD is really known in the polymer frame pistol world for its ergonomics. Just when you pick it up and you grab it, it feels like you're grabbing a 1911. And you got a lot of guys that have been shooting 1911s for a very long time. That's what they like. And they really base the design off a 1911 ergonomic hand grip. So just by grabbing it, it kind of makes you, feel like you're at home if you're used to a 1911. That's one of the reasons why I like it, because I like the 1911. But just looking at it, the grip fits in your hand. It's big, it's got some beef to it, but it's not overly big. And I even have big hands and I can still grab it really easy. I can get my master grip on there without problem at all. I really like some of the features on this, just from the backstrap safety on here, which I'll get into a little bit later. Ambidextrous mag releases on both sides. Very nice feature. The textured grips. Now this is an XD model, so it doesn't have as much texturing, but Springfield, one of the great things about them is they give you options. So they have options in the XDM category that have very, very textured grips. Just a great pistol for ergonomics, a lot to it. Even looking at the slide, you have serrations in the rear for the charging. You have serrations in the front when you're racking the slide back. Even the XDM series that I don't have represented here has a little bit more aggressive serrations on there. So it's a very, very ergonomic handgun.
Okay, thank you. And Mark, can you tell us more about Glock?
Certainly. One of the features that some people with normal-sized hands have had a problem with in the past has been the shape of the Glock backstrap. This has been kind of a sore spot, if you will, in the past. Little larger than most people like. Also, the grip angle that Trevor mentioned that was picked up by Springfield from the 1911. The grip angle on the Glock was actually intentional to force the user to aim slightly down rather than the traditional grip angle so that the gun would not have as much recoil coming back. That was a conscious decision on the part of the designer. Again, I'd like to mention that Glock started with a blank sheet of paper, no preconceived notions about grip angle, any other functions of the gun. We lose points apparently on there's no serrations on the front. It's never kept me from firing the gun. I wasn't aware that was a big problem in the industry, but I kind of like on the subcompact and the compact Glocks, the 19, the 26, and the 27, actually raises this hump further up on the grip so that it fits more into the small of your hand. In recent versions, in the Generation 4 Glocks, Glock has responded to requests from the shooting community for a removable backstrap to customize the size to the size of each person's hand.
All right, thank you for that. Now, let's talk about the most important aspect of firearms, safety features. What makes yours? Mark, how about you start?
What makes my pistol safe? Glock's action is called safe action. The striker is never fully cocked, you could use the term, until the trigger is fully pulled to the rear. There are 3 safeties incorporated into the Glock that are actually rather transparent. When you pick up this gun and put your finger on the trigger to fire, you should never have your finger on the trigger until you are ready to fire. The gun is not going to go off. The gun can be loaded, dropped, the gun will not fire. But in a high-stress situation when the gun needs to be drawn and fired, it's as simple as a revolver. If you pull the trigger, the gun will fire.
Okay, and Trevor, what do you have to say?
You know, Yelena, one of the best things I like about the XD is the safety features that it offers.
Okay.
They have certain models that have certain safety features, and some models you don't have to have those safety features. And this model right now doesn't have one of the ones that I tend to like, and I've owned the XDM, which has a manual safety on it. And by manual safety, I mean you can flip it with your thumb once you get into the master position, or flip it on and off as needed. Now, the nice thing about the manual safety is you train with it, as you train with any pistol. And the nice thing about training with a manual safety is if you're ever in a circumstance where you need to get another firearm, if you're in a self-defense situation where you can't access your firearm but you have access to another one, it's muscle memory to check for a manual safety, throw that, and then engage into your master grip and be ready to go into action. One more thing that I like to quote now too, I just recently learned this. Masad Ayub is a very, very well-known person in the shooting community, and he said it's better to have a more proprietary gun for self-defense for your own standard, meaning that if you have a gun that people aren't used to, that they just can't grab and click away, it's gonna be better for you, because what if someone takes that gun? And granted, I'm not gonna let someone just come up and ask me for it and give it to them, but what if they come from behind with a blunt object, a baseball bat, knock me down from behind? I don't know they're coming. They grab my gun. If they're not used to flipping a manual safety, having that master grip engaged, it's not gonna go off. Dropping the slide here on the XD, you notice I have a backstrap safety. And this is just to ensure that when you grip your pistol, you're high and you're gripped right. You're coming into your master grip. So this pistol will not fire unless this is depressed. I can't pull a trigger unless this is down. Also, you can see right here, being that I dropped the slide, this is a striker indicator. This lets you know that the firing pin is charged. It's in its locked position. I can visually see it if I'm helping somebody. If I have this pistol in a holster, I can see and feel a firing pin is in its charged position. One more safety feature is on the top of the slide, and that's a loaded chamber indicator, like Glock also has on their new pistols. When I'm engaging my master grip and I'm sighting down through the sights, I don't have to change my eyes or position. I can see from sighting down the sights, looking at my target, if this is pressed up, this little loaded chamber indicator is pressed up, I definitely know a round is in the chamber, and I can also feel it. So if say you're struggling with somebody in the firearm, you can feel it. Will it happen? Who knows? But it kind of puts me peace of mind again that I have a striker indicator right here. I have a loaded chamber indicator. On some pistols, I have the option for a manual safety, and I do mean option for it. You don't need it. And I also have that backstrap safety. A lot of safety features on the Springfield XD. And the last one is actually in the trigger. It's called the USA trigger. Very similar to the Glock's design, but without that center of that trigger being depressed, the pistol isn't going to go off as well.
All right, thanks, Trevor. Mark, do you have anything to say on what Trevor just said?
I don't believe the firing pin indicator indicates that the gun is charged. I believe it indicates the gun is cocked. So as you mentioned, that gun being in a holster, that is a visual and tactile indicator of the gun being cocked, but not necessarily charged. I don't think it's a bad feature. I do think it is redundant. On both pistols that we have, there is a loaded chamber indicator, here on the Glock on the top of the slide, as Trevor mentioned. I don't think either gun can be charged with a round in the chamber without being cocked. So I'm not sure what purpose that firing pin indicator serves, except to show that it could possibly be cocked, but not charged with a round in the chamber. I can't say anything bad about safeties on a gun. Any gun should be trained with. Any gun releasing the slide, for example, a person should grab it and pull back, straight back, and let go instead of relying on a slide release. Learning to manipulate the thumb safety may be something on a firearm like this with no thumb safety, or on that particular version of the XD with no thumb safety, may actually eat up some precious time.
All right. Trevor, what are your thoughts on the safety features of Glock?
What safety? I just want to call attention to a guy named Plexico Burris, who, terrible situation, complete idiot how it happened, and I'll be very honest with saying that, but some people do it. Some people just slip a gun in their waistband. Some people aren't trained classically, they're not trained professionally. And what happened on that situation was the gun started dropping down his pants, and he went to grab it, and because there's no manual safety on there, other really than just make sure he's squeezing that trigger right, he grabbed it, finger went in the trigger guard through sweatpants, no other, and the gun went off and shot. Now this isn't the first time it's happened. The thing about the Glock is they call it a safe action pistol rather, so you need to pull the trigger the full way for it to fire, and that's very, very true, but that doesn't mean your finger's doing the pulling. If you're a hunter, say one for backup in the woods and you're reholstering, if there's a twig or a stick that gets in the way, part of the holster, if that hits the trigger, that's going off. And that has happened, and it can happen. Nice thing about the XD, going back to it, is thumb strap safety. And if I have the manual safety, especially if I have the manual safety, once that's flipped, that's not going off. If I'm putting this in a holster, as long as I'm not depressing this, not gonna go off. So safety features, for me, mandatory. I'm not an operator in Afghanistan, though. I'm a self-defense shooter and a casual shooter. Love the safety features of an XD.
All right, thank you both. I think very valid points made for, by both parties.
Could I just throw one in? I think you and I can both agree on the fact that he was kind of an asswipe for carrying his pistol in that.
Well, I think we will completely agree. You should never carry a pistol like that.
What is our next question now? Another important factor is how well the manufacturers respond to customer feedback. Mark, what do you have to say about that?
Let's let Trevor go first. I hate being the first each time.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a stab at this one. I got to say, Springfield's been excellent. You know, they adopted the HS 2000, made it the XD 2002, right around there, and they've listened extremely well. They came out with the XD bare bones as a 4-inch model and a 5-inch model. That was it. And XD stands for Extreme Duty. And then people said, well, we want different barrel lengths, we want different frames, we want this, we want that. So they took the bare bones pistol with a basic accessory rail and said, you know what, we're going to give them a 3-inch barrel, we're going to give them a subcompact frame, we're going to give them the compact frame. And they do that extremely well, and then they gave out more calibers. They came out with the 45 ACP, they had the 45 gap, 357 SIG, 9mm, 40. Listened very, very well to customer feedback, and then the customer said, we want more safety features. Then they came out with the XDM that had the manual safety. They redesigned the texture of the grip. Many, many different features. They even, they listened and said, we need more Picatinny notches on the rail. So the actual rails, the notches on the accessory rail under the barrel, on the XDM models, they have 3 notches in there in the 3.8 and 4.5 inch. Because on some accessories, it's really hard to get that lined up just right, or you can't bring it back far enough to access your finger. So they listened and they put more accessory notches on that rail. They've done extremely well. Even the custom shop, Springfield Armory offers a custom shop. So instead of just buying the pistol off the shelf somewhere, you can call Springfield Armory and say, I want this gun with a match grade barrel with a trigger job, and I want it in this finish, and I want these style adjustable sights. And they'll make it for you. They'll do it for you. They'll do everything for you. Customer service, second to none. I'll give a little nod to Glock. Awesome customer service as well, but Springfield Armory, right up there. Awesome, awesome customer service.
Thank you, Trevor. And now, Mark, how feedback friendly is Glock?
Well, first of all, I'd like to agree with Trevor that Springfield does have quite a bit of interaction with their customer base as far as responding to features that they've asked for. In my own opinion, some of the features may not be as earth-shaking as they are purported to be. Going from a 4-inch barrel to a 3.8-inch barrel is not really an earth-shaking change. Glock has responded to their main criticism throughout their history, which has been the shape of the rear grip strap. There haven't been that many changes in the design, which I personally believe is a nod to the fact that they got it very nearly right the first time around. You'll notice, for example, with a Porsche 911, the design of the car has not changed tremendously over time. Glock also offers their different calibers in different frame sizes. They have, for example, in the 9mm, the full-size 17, the mid-size 19, and the subcompact 26. There's not a tremendous advertising campaign for Glock. If you pick up a Glock catalog from 10 years ago, with the exception of a couple of different model editions, you won't see a tremendous amount of change. Again, I believe that's because the basic design is functional, accurate, safe, well made.
Okay, well, thank you for that. You were making some points. Is there something you wanted to say?
Just a couple things I just probably want customers to be aware of. One of the features on the Gen 4 Glock, and some of the models I know, you can elect to have a left side magazine release. But with what some of the changes with the Gen 4 Glock is, if you have a Gen 4 Glock with a left side release, you need to make sure you only have Gen 4 magazines. So they still need to respond to that issue, and that's due to how the magazine locks into place. So if you have a Gen 4 Glock with a left side magazine release, which on left hand rather, so it means to be on the right side, you got to make sure you have only those Gen 4 specific magazines. On a note to that, Glock did, after 30 years, they changed their, they finally changed. It took 30 years to respond to them dealing with the grip issue. But they did it, and the Gen 4 series is phenomenal. It's a nice series, changed the back straps, they changed the guide rod assembly. So the changes that Glock has made, I absolutely will give that to Glock and Mark. The changes they have made have been for the best, really, really nice changes.
All right, thank you both for those points. Now, as we all know, maintenance is very important. So let's see how each one of the brands stands up. Who's going to take this one away?
All right, maintenance for an XD, extremely easy to field strip. I could take this gun apart in just a few seconds, pop out the barrel, pop out the guide rod, get it all cleaned. If there is an issue, take care of it, put it back together in a few seconds. I must have, not even exaggerating by any means, probably in the circa 3,000, 3,500 rounds to this XD. I can't remember one failure to feed or failure to eject on this model. Does it happen? Sure, it happens. It happens on all pistols. But on this one, all my rounds that I fired through it have been flawless. No problems at all. One of the nice things about an XD, unlike Glock, is I can shoot reload lead cast bullets out of this one as well. The barrel permits that. So everything I've put through here has been absolutely flawless. Whether it's copper plated bullets, hollow points, lead plated bullets, lead cast bullets from reloads, doesn't make a difference. I can shoot it through here. I'm not going to worry at all that it's not going to ever have a failure to feed, failure to eject. This gun's going to work every time I pull the trigger.
Sounds good. Mark, what about Glock?
Well, speaking of going bang every time the trigger's pulled, in the original military trials, one of the requirements was that the test gun have no more than 20 failures to eject, misfires, during the first 10,000 rounds. I also have had no failures to feed, failures to eject. In my Glocks, I have a 19, 236s, and a 30. And like any good gun owner, I've got a couple boxes full of all sorts of mixed ammunition that I've collected over the years, and I am not either afraid to fire any type of ammo in my gun. So don't really have a preference over the two there. Field strips very similarly to the XD. As Trevor said, this is a very easy gun. Both guns are very easy to field strip into their main components. One of the nice things about the Glock that I took, my 19, that I took to Thunder Ranch for defensive handgun training was that in the course of 3 days and 2,000 rounds, we didn't really have much time to do any kind of maintenance on the gun, and without any type of lubrication or cleaning, it functioned flawlessly during those 3 days. Both of the guns are very well designed so as to run under less than ideal conditions. They both have a history of being easily field cleaned. One area where I believe the Glock has it over the Springfield is that every component of the gun except for the frame is available and user serviceable. There are a couple of parts on the Springfield XDs that require being shipped to the factory for replacement. So that would be a slight edge that I would give to the Glock in that it is maintainable in the field. A slight edge, but an edge nonetheless.
Now, one of the things Mark brought up is that when you need some of the replacements on the XD, it does need service, and it's absolutely true. Some of the parts on here, the smaller parts, are harder to get to if you're not a professionally trained armorer, and it's definitely recommended to send it back to Springfield Armory for that. The one observation I did see right there, I just want to note is, I believe Glock used to suggest and actually recommend that not using the lead cast bullets in their polygonal rifling. And I know, at least on the Gen 1 series, I don't know if it's different, but I know the warning was on the Gen 1 series, if something happened with using lead-plated bullets, it wouldn't be covered by the factory warranty. So it's definitely something that, I don't know if it's still around, but I know it's been suggested, don't use the lead bullets from reloads or casting on a polygonal rifle barrel like as in a Glock.
All right, wow, that was a lot of great points made. And now it's time for each one of these guys to make their closing arguments. All right, Trevor, go ahead.
All right, in really conclusion to the Springfield XD. It's a fantastically made pistol. It really is. Springfield did an awesome job at recognizing something that was going to be big in the market, and it filled a void. Polymer pistols have been around for a while. Mark said that the VP70 was the first polymer pistol out. Glock took over that market, but there's always room for a new kid on the block. And you know, bottom line is, it gives people an option. So right now, there's an option for people to get a polymer frame pistol that has the manual safeties, that's a different grip. So there's not just one on the market. It's like buying a car. Test drive a few, see what you like. See what you shoot the best with, see what feels the best in your hand, what you're more comfortable with. And the bottom line is practice, repetition, muscle memory. Whatever you have, whatever you choose, practice, get that muscle memory, make sure you're very, very comfortable with it. If it's an XD, awesome. If it's a Glock, okay. So just practice what's more comfortable in your hand, go with it, and enjoy shooting, guys.
Okay, Mark?
You make me kind of miss my own XD at home. I have the very same firearm. I've got an XD Tactical with 5-inch. May I?
Absolutely.
Trevor is correct. If you're looking at your first handgun, find a range in your area that will let you try a variety of different guns. We both like Glocks. We both like the XDs. Find what fits your hand. As Trevor said, you are likely to shoot the best with that firearm that fits you well. The best advice I can say is that starting with either of these two models would be a very good start. We do sell a lot of accessories for both, whatever type of firearm that you're looking at. We sell accessories for them. We have holsters for the Glock. We have holsters for the XD.
Mark, can I see that wipe really quick?
I'm sorry, you should have prepared better for the debate,
Just
actually.
need to get those fingerprints off here.
Come on, guys. Let's give Mark a chance to finish.
No, Trevor made some very good points with that. Find what fits you the best. They're both good guns. If you're the type of person that likes to accessorize, if you want a holster, if you want a light, if you want to put a light on the gun and need a holster, either of these gun manufacturers are a good place to start because they're both very popular guns. You're going to find accessories for both of them. A lot of our customers will buy a handgun, buy some off-brand light, then they'll call us and want a holster to put the gun and light in, and they're not going to fit. If you go with an XD, if you go with a Glock, you go with a name brand light, you're going to be able to find a holster that's going to fit those. We sell them. On any given day, we have more than 10,000 holsters in our inventory, so find yourself a gun, come to us for accessories. We hope you've enjoyed the debate.
All right, well, seems like it all comes down to personal preference. Now you heard what they had to say. We want to know what you have to say. If these guys missed any points, go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments. Have a great idea for a topic to debate? Go ahead and share your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe to our videos. And remember, whether you're loyal to Glock or Springfield XD, OpticsPlanet.com is the right place to get your firearm accessories.
And now, a word from Steve Ledden, Director of Product Intelligence on behalf of Revolvers.
Hi, while I appreciate my colleagues' statements about their plastic guns, most people think that a large bore revolver like this Freedom Arms Model 83 and 454 Casull with the OpMod EOTech EXPS2 on top would be a much better platform. And a strange material that this is made out of, most new shooters don't know about, it's called metal.